In this episode, we're on an adventure, not for long-lost treasure in far-off lands, but for one of the greatest characters in pop culture history, the swashbuckling, whip-wielding, fedora-wearing, snake-fearing, relic-hunting legend, Indiana Jones. Here we go!
And here we are again for another episode of Greatest Characters in Pop Culture History.
And my guest is Sean Grady, one of my best friends from the theater world. Sean, welcome. And you picked Indiana Jones. So I think that ties in with your connection to history. You're a teacher, you're an actor, and you also do this great thing called Drama from the Past.
Yes. First of all, congratulations on the podcast.
Thank you.
I've listened to a couple episodes. You're doing a great job. I'm happy that and honored that you've asked me to be a part of it. We go back a long time, done a lot of great work together, so I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, I'm a teacher, history lover. These movies are right in my wheelhouse. And yes, I'm an actor and I write my own shows. I think I've always wanted to be Indiana Jones since I first saw him on the screen. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So what came first, your love of history or your introduction to Indiana Jones or teaching? So what's the chronology of how like history and Indiana Jones kind of came together in your life?
I think it probably happened around the same time because the movie came out when I was in second grade. And that's when I went on my first field trip to Phillipsburg Manor in what is now Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, New York. And that's when I was like, wait, people lived like this so long ago. And then I saw, the movie and I fell in love with India. First of all, I was like, Han Solo is playing Indiana Jones. I got to see that. I felt like they were making movies for me as a kid. I'm like, these just keep getting better and better. So it was like right around the same time that my love for history and my love for this character developed. So simultaneously.
There were inspirations for Indiana Jones that sparked George Lucas to make this character, right? So there's like Alan Quatermain, a lot of these adventure types. He was inspired by real life adventurers and all those serials from like the 20s and 30s. But I guess Indiana Jones was so iconic that he has sparked others, and we'll talk about that. But what is your take? The first time you saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, movie theater?
Movie theater, yeah, all the way. I remember, like I said, I was probably around 7 years old, and my dad took me with a friend, and I think my friend had already seen the movie. I have this friend who always saw the movies before me and would say things about the movie. I'm like, don't tell me about this. But I was blown away. I mean, the trailer just grabbed me. When I saw the trailer, I was like, I got to go see that. And that was the days where like, movie theaters weren't everywhere. Not every movie theater had the movie you wanted to see. I remember I saw it in this very small movie house. I don't know where it was. I was too young. It wasn't the normal movie theater we went to in my town. So we had to like go somewhere to see it. And I mean, I was floored. I couldn't wait to, get out and talk about it with my friends and go play something, play Indiana Jones or role play something or go play in the woods or just do something adventurous because I just remember that feel. When I hear that the Raiders March, even today, I'm back in that theater. I'm a kid. I'm with my dad. It's almost nostalgic now that when I hear that song, I almost start to well up a little bit because of how I felt and how that character, that sound, it just can bring me back to a different time in my life.
Yeah, and I still remember the commercials for the movie, the ball rolling down. It was just so iconic. And I could see why George Lucas wanted to kind of recapture that. Because like you were feeling nostalgic about seeing Indiana Jones. I think he had that nostalgia for these serials, the adventures that he saw in the movie theaters, and probably the Pulp Fiction that he was reading at the time. Let's delve into it. What do you think makes Indiana Jones one of the greatest characters of all time?
Wow. I guess in a sense, I mean, he's a hero, but he's also an everyman. He's a scholar. He's a college professor, and he's, I guess, an archaeologist, although that's not exactly archaeology. I'm a teacher. I show my kids like what archaeology really is. It's a lot of brushing away dirt like over months. So, oh, what's this? Oh, we're gonna don't stick a shovel in the ground and pull it out. So he's an everyman. He's a hero, but like it's not like, well, as the movies go on, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like all the technology kind of took over a little bit. But he finds himself in situations, he gets out of them, sometimes by luck, sometimes by skill. You could just identify with him. He's not the strongest guy He's probably one of the more wise, not always the smartest. He gets outsmarted, he fails, he gets beat up, but then he gets back up and keeps going. Like, that's the thing about
Yeah.
he's got no quit, and I think that's, one reason why I like him a lot.
I think Indiana Jones and the professor are like the secret identity and the superhero. Like I see those scenes when he's teaching his class in college and university and he's wearing the glasses and
Yeah.
he's very prim and proper and talking about class and did you read the assignment and we're going to have a test on this and the students are looking at him. There's the girl with the writing
Yeah.
on the eye, love you, right? I love you. And then he goes out on these adventures. Once he puts on that fedora, he's like a superhero. That's like his costume,
Mhm.
right? And apparently that costume was inspired by a movie with, I'm going to forget what it was because I never saw the movie, but it was a film with Charlton Heston, I believe. And
Okay.
in that movie, yes, he played Harry Steele, which was another one of those characters that
Mhm.
was very a prototype of what Indiana Jones would become. And apparently in that movie, the costume that Charlton Heston is wearing was what inspired Steven Spielberg and George Lucas to make the costume, the iconic costume, the khaki shirt and
Yep,
the fedora and the whip and everything. So I got to look that up. If I find it, I'll try to pop up a picture here for
definitely.
everybody to see. But yeah, so he had all these inspirations, the serials, the adventures, but they were real life adventurers of the time, and I think that's what was sparking it. Like you said, real archaeologists don't really go on these life-threatening adventures, but there were real adventurers during those times, Victorian era and like the
Sure.
early 1900s that were going out there searching the Amazon for lost cities and searching for lost treasure. And then people would write these stories in newspapers and in magazines and then pulp fiction. You're just idolizing these kinds of folks.
Mm.
So this is what Indiana Jones became, kind of just brought to life. And I think that's so great. And it's endured for so many decades and sparked so many imitators, which we'll talk about at the end. But that first movie, when it first came out, did you think it would become the franchise that it became? I mean, we were kids when it came out, but again, you mentioned Han Solo,
Yeah.
right? It's like seeing him, and then he was in Blade Runner as well. But Indiana Jones was like a character unto itself, and I think that is what launched Harrison
Oh, yeah.
Ford's career. I think it was the combination of Han Solo, but then followed right up with Indiana
Oh, yeah,
Jones.
definitely. Both those movies to me are, they're all time for me and, childhood memories, loads of them. But I love him he's one of my favorite actors. I love him in both. But I wanted to ask you that question. Which one of his characters do you think is more iconic?
I
I guess a franchise, you got to say Indy, but Han is
Yeah.
Han. I mean, what's tough?
It is tough. But you didn't have enough of Han Solo, I think. I feel bad. Like you had the 3 movies and then you had, the sequels, and then you had that guy play him in that standalone solo movie,
Right.
right? But Indiana Jones was like, yeah, I guess about the same number of movies, right? But it just seems to like have had more of an impact.
Yeah.
Like I see more people dressed up as like I used to see more people dressed up as Indiana Jones for Halloween than Han Solo. I guess Han Solo you'd put on a vest, right?
Right.
And a ray gun maybe. But Han Solo was just so cool with that hat and the whip.
Yeah. No, he absolutely, and there's an attraction at, Hollywood Studios in Disney,
Mhm.
the Indiana Jones, and I went there this summer. When I went there first, it was COVID, so they shut it down, and then I go back there again, and I'm excited for it, and it starts thundering, and they only got to do 1 stunt they did the Boulder one. It was really cool. They're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have to cancel the show." I was like, "No, that's one thing I wanted to see," and, I only
Yeah.
got to see one of the stunts.
I'm glad they're still doing it because I remember going to Universal back in the day, and that stunt show was just incredible. It really was just like watching the movie. You had the fire explosions, you had the plane, and it's just like it's really, really great. But I guess, yeah, the stunts are part of what makes it what it is. It's just nonstop. And he seemed to like want to George Lucas and then the director Steven Spielberg just try to make like kind of a James Bond period piece about adventure. And like you have the opening kind of little vignette
Yep.
where they and then it goes into the full adventure and all the little iconic things, that both characters kind of have. Is Raiders of the Lost Ark your favorite out of the
Yes.
bunch?
Yeah, I just watched all 5 of them, and
Yeah.
that's my favorite. That's the best one.
Still holds up, man. That
So
first
good,
one.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
set the
it's
standard for the rest of them, which they don't quite meet, but that same, like, opening
yeah.
sequence, like, adventure, like, it kinda follows.
So how would you rank them? How would you rank the movies?
I knew you were gonna. Okay, I knew you were
So
going there.
Raiders number one.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
and we'll talk about each one.
Last Crusade number 2,
I would do that as well.
Temple of Doom number 3, Dial of
Okay.
Destiny number 4, and
Okay.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is just
Yeah.
that's like Rocky 5. It's just and
But
it
the problem is Rocky Five, still kind of has some good moments.
no, yeah, you know what? Yes, but
Yes,
and
that's a
I
fair
always I'm like
comparison. Yeah.
I'm like watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm like, what was the purpose of I guess just
I
bringing him
guess bringing
back
them back,
and getting Marion back in the mix, but
Mm-hmm.
otherwise,
Yeah. And then spoiler alert, you have Mutt in there.
and even, I think he even knew like when he like has the hat, and you're like, and I remember going in the theater going, no, he's not, and then he takes it away from him. So it's like almost like they knew,
Yeah.
like, it's not gonna.
Not
This
gonna
is
work.
where it ends with this.
And yeah, so he's supposed to be, again, spoiler alert, he's supposed to be Indy's son. And then for the last movie that they made, he kind of gets killed off screen. He dies in Vietnam. So I think they realized, it's like, you're not going to have somebody pass the torch that way.
You
One
can't.
day you might have another actor playing him, and we'll talk
I
about
don't
the
know.
actors who played him at different ages, but they were setting up River Phoenix. I think
Yeah.
they really were setting up River Phoenix to be, in Last Crusade, he has that flashback. The opening scene is this flashback of when he was young Indiana Jones, and
So good.
River Phoenix was so good. He died too young.
He like the best part, like when he like just like the way his mannerisms were. It's like it was,
Yeah.
and when he goes for jump on the horse and the horse and he like looks up, like
Yeah.
that's so Harrison Ford.
It belongs in a museum, like he
Yeah.
says the lines, just like,
And
yeah.
Harrison Ford was on set with him
Mhm.
and like kind of mentored him, and he was very invested. He's invested in a lot of it, and
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, that's not my scene. He's in. He's part of it. He's very dedicated to it,
Yeah.
which is very cool.
He was.
What's
he
your
was,
ranking? I gave you mine.
I mean, you matched it. That was it. Raiders of the Lost Ark still holds up as the best, the first and the best.
You saw them all in the theater?
Let me confess, I did not see Crystal Skull.
Ever.
I just ever.
Ever.
And I was gonna do it for this because I had to do it.
I
And I
thought
was
you
like,
were just revisit. Oh, my goodness.
no, I revisited everything else, and I saw the last one, Dial of Destiny. Did not see Crystal Skull. I just
Did you see
heard.
it in the theater, Dial of Destiny? I didn't see
I
Dial
did.
of Destiny in the
I did
theater.
see it in the theater, and I liked it. I thought it was okay. Just not. It wasn't. It wasn't directed by Spielberg, first
Right.
of all, and it just, I don't know, just felt different.
It was different.
And I hate to say it, but it's such an action-oriented series that it's tough to watch sometimes Harrison Ford try to do these stunts and everything. I love the scene when he's on horseback and everything, but I'm like, the guy's getting old up there. I don't want him to break any more legs like he he did. He broke some bones doing the Han Solo stuff in the Star Wars sequels. And I liked seeing him in the Blade Runner, sequel.
I never saw Blade Runner or the sequels. I gotta get on that.
That's one. I'll watch Crystal Skull. Yeah, I think you'll love Blade Runner and the sequel. But yeah, so that's how I would rank it. It would be Raiders first, and then Last Crusade, which I know some people like Temple of Doom better. When it first came out, I was kind of underwhelmed by Temple of Doom because I was a kid, and it was definitely felt like it was gory, and it led to the PG-13 creation of that label for movies, the rating system, because people were like, "Oh, it's not really a rated R movie, but it's it needs more guidance than
you
just
rip
a PG."
somebody's heart out of their chest.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard stuff for kids to watch, and it had become, kids love Raiders of the Lost Ark. The first movie, Raiders, had gory things going on. It had scary things going on. So I understand. It fits the the theme. It's not like so out of place. But at the time, I saw why people were like, it's that second chapter, just like Empire Strikes Back. People were like, oh, at first they didn't really appreciate it. Then in hindsight, yeah. But I think like Willie Scott, I loved Short Round in it. I wish they had brought Short Round back for some of the other ones. I still don't understand that, why he, we haven't seen. The actor's been coming back and doing a lot of great things. I would love to see where that character went. And
they could have brought him back for that last one. That's a good point.
I'm surprised they didn't. But that, in hindsight, having him as a sidekick. And I guess I was also like, why make it a prequel? Like they had the date.
Yeah,
Lucas
I noticed
has that trend. Lucas does that. Like he'll do things out of sequence. You have chapter 4 before you have chapter 1, episode 1. So yeah, the Raiders happened, and then you had this Temple of Doom was like set a few years before that. And maybe because some of the things going on in China, you didn't want to, you had already established that, you had World War II going on with the Nazis and everything. And I think maybe that was
Mhm.
why. It still works, still great, a little much darker than the other series.
Yeah.
And then Last Crusade, I just thought really went back to what worked in the
Yes.
original. Some people thought it was kind of like a little bit beat for beat, just like Return of the Jedi with Star
I was
Wars.
just gonna say that. It's like it follows the same recipe.
Yeah. But
Go
that's
back
why
to
it
what
worked, I think.
worked.
I think that's why it worked, you
Yeah.
know? So I would rank, yeah, so Raiders and then Last Crusade and then Temple of Doom, which watching it again, I mean, I just loved it. I mean, the
Yeah.
adventures were
I love it.
Willie Scott was a great character. I thought
Yep.
that was really, really good. And then I guess, I liked Dial of Destiny. I enjoyed it. It doesn't it's like a distant fourth, kind of, but it's still in fourth place.
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
haven't I haven't seen Crystal Skull, but I've heard just,
It's gonna be number 5 for you, Nick, when you
nuke
see it.
nuke the fridge, like the fridge explodes, and like I've got all the spoilers in my head. I know about Mutt, and everything. So
I watched for only twice. I saw it in the movie theater back in, I guess, '08. I went
mhm,
back. I loved hearing the music, and then I'm watching. Did I hate it when I saw it? No, but there were some things where I was like, "Ugh." I remembered not very much of it. I know, I was like, I don't remember this. Okay, I remember that. I was almost like I was watching it again for the first time.
mm.
It didn't leave an impression on me.
And that's how I'm starting to feel about Dial of Destiny. I'm
Yes,
feeling like I'm forgetting some of the plot points and what was going on, and I had seen that recently, so
recently, me
it
too.
just shows it doesn't really stick, whereas Raiders, it had been a while since I'd seen it again, but when I watched it, it was like I'd seen it 100 times 'cause it's those moments stick with you when the person with the sword is flat and he
Yes,
just, like, takes out his gun and shoots him, and that great story about in real life, like, he was just sick on set. He's like, "Why can't I just pull out my gun and shoot him?"
and that poor
And that
guy had rehearsed. He was ready for this elaborate fight, and then his whole thing gets cut down to like 10 seconds, and he's like a joke.
And it's such an iconic moment.
I
And
remember.
then
God, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, I
Well,
was gonna say that in Ren, they play on that because there's another person and Indiana Jones goes for his guns, but he doesn't have them.
yes,
So that was a nice play. But as a prequel, it's like it which came first, right? Because it didn't
yeah,
happen
that's
chronologically. What were
yeah.
you gonna say?
I was gonna say I remember the laugh that got a huge laugh in the theater. I remember like all the lines that got laughs to this day, like as a grown man when I was 7. Like that's how much that movie like resonated and had an impact. And then like I sit there and watch Dial of Destiny, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I'm like, I just saw them, at the Dial
Mhm.
of Destiny not too long ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is how it goes down. It doesn't have the same, doesn't land the same, but
Yeah, and
and
you
you need the
wonder
context from the other 4.
exactly. That's how I wonder if somebody saw Dial of Destiny when I was in the theater. I wondered if people really knew the context and appreciated the genre, or if it was just more nostalgia, and which is what it felt like. It felt like they're doing it for nostalgia's sake
Mhm.
rather than continuing the story. And I think, unlike James Bond, it's always a new story. It's always whether some movies don't work, some movies are not that great, some performances are less. Um, Worthy, I guess. I mean, some people like Sean Connery, some people like others, but you could still have a James Bond adventure.
Right.
And I think Indiana Jones falls into that category where I think you could keep making Indiana Jones movies forever. You're going to need an actor that really resonates. And I think
I don't
it
know
took
if
a while for people to get used to another James Bond, right? But do you think there'll be a time when there'll be Indiana Jones movies with someone else?
I honestly think Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones and
Mm,
Jones is Harrison Ford. Like,
yeah.
it's I it's not different than like, it could have went that direction, but they didn't do that. They kept
Mm,
him in this storyline and now aging with the character. How are you
yeah.
going to I mean, they'll do it anyway. If it's gonna make them money, they're gonna do it, but will I jump on board again? I don't know if I can. I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to. I mean, I could, but I don't know if I'd want to. It's like I'm becoming the guys like that. My Indiana Jones is only Harrison Ford. I mean, they changed Supermans, they changed Batmans, they
That's what I
changed
mean. You've got
Bonds, but they haven't done it with this guy.
yeah.
Other than
And
like the young Indiana Jones stuff,
yeah.
which
And with
I don't really
some of
want
those,
to.
like Batman, you're changing actors in a couple of years. Like you're going from one to another, like Spider-Man, the same thing. But it seems to work for them. So you would
Yeah,
think, and maybe it's also Spielberg being the director that was that continuity too. Like it always felt like Spielberg and Lucas were telling a story, and that was kind of the connecting. So maybe that's another reason why, I had to watch Crystal Skull because that was directed by Spielberg,
Yes, the
and
last one he did.
he's still so talented and so amazing. That's why you see some of those shots and some of those sequences, and you appreciate what a great director Spielberg was. And he was inspired by those kind of
Yes.
serials and adventure movies, and Lawrence of Arabia and Zorro and all those kinds of adventure swashbuckler movies.
Yeah.
And they're recreating that.
Yep, you could see it. Like, I watched Lawrence of Arabia a couple years back because 'cause I'm like, "I gotta watch Lawrence of Arabia." It's like and I'm like, "That's reminiscent of what they did in Star Wars," and Raider.
Hmm.
I'm like, I could see the influence and go right to his movies and go, "Yep, that's I see it." And you mentioned, can they do another like, I would almost think if they did Indiana Jones, they'd have to go in a completely different direction. Like, it can't have the slapsticky like, it would have to be, like, darker or, like, more violent, like how they did with, like,
Yeah.
the Batman. They went a different direction. You have
Yeah.
the Michael Keaton Batman, and then you have, the Christian Bale Batman. They're not the same. Like, they're, like a different angle. I think maybe you'd have to do that. I don't know if you could, like,
Yeah.
capture that same type of magic that the original had.
Yeah. You mentioned the other people who played him. So Harrison Ford obviously is the iconic one that's the thread that goes throughout all of them. But you had River Phoenix play the young Indy in the beginning of The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Then they did Young Indiana Jones, this TV series, and they wanted to bring River Phoenix back. So it was Harrison Ford who got them to cast River Phoenix because they
Mhm.
worked together. Mosquito,
Mosquito
right?
Coast, I think?
Mosquito Coast together. He played his son. So it was like, hey, there's already a guy who, was
Yeah.
great as my son. And he's such a good actor. He was
Oh.
such a good actor. And his death just broke me, because he was like my age. But they were going to do the TV series, and apparently River Phoenix couldn't do it, or it was right around his death. I forgot what the timing was, but so they got Sean Patrick Flannery, who's also very good.
Mhm.
And I never watched it. Did you watch the Young Indiana Jones
No,
series?
I did not.
And I
Never.
just remember not having an interest to
Me
tune
too.
in. And I don't know if they promoted it as like as an education series where here's young Indy kind of going around the world meeting famous people in history. Like he met Theodore Roosevelt and Pablo Picasso, and it was kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of situation where he would just like go around and just meet all the famous people of his time. So it became a little unrealistic, I would imagine. Maybe that's why I didn't really gravitate towards it. But it showed him when he was younger. So you had Corey Carrier play the very young Indiana Jones. Sean Patrick Flannery played the lead, and it was supposed to go back and forth between the young one and the teenage early adult, but eventually it became Sean Patrick Flannery's show, and it was all his adventures. This was done after Last Crusade, so you had somebody play Henry, his dad, and they showed the rebellion and how they kind of like split up. This is all from what I'm reading because I haven't seen any of it.
No,
Then it got canceled for low ratings, so people like me who are Indiana Jones fans just were not tuning
didn't get
in.
on board. No.
And so they made 4 TV movies, and then they repackaged all of them for DVD as 22 episodes. And apparently it's streaming, so I am going to go check it out because it sounds like they do reference the movies a lot, and it is in canon, so it's all continuity based. And there's references in the movies to some of the stuff from the Young Indiana Jones series, like they mention Indy's mom's name and things like that.
Mhm.
So, um, so yeah, I think it's worth
Does
checking
the
out, and I'm
dog
going to.
make an appearance in
I
the
don't know. That's a good question. But that's where his name comes
He's
from, right?
named after the dog.
He's got to have a dog in there. But that's what I love too about like Last Crusade. You find out about, the fedora, and you find out all the things that kind of came with it, and his fear of snakes and his, all that stuff. So I thought that was really well done. Some of it might be thought of as fan service, right? But I like that, What about his like icons, like the fedora and the whip and his fear of snakes? Like, is there anything else that's kind of like tied to his character? Like, with James Bond, it's like the martini and the car and all that stuff.
The
What is it about those
the
iconic?
fedora is
Yeah,
everything, and I love those shots of him when you first like, that first shot of him
yeah.
in the first one.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. You see him from the back
yeah,
as he's walking
he
in, and
uses
then
the
that
whip and
first
knocks
shot.
the gun out of the guy's hand. Like, so you get the whip and the hat. That is in the opening moment you see him. So I
One of
think
the
they go
best
hand in
openings.
hand. The hat more so than the whip, of course, because the hat's part of the look all the time. Like every time every reveal of him in every movie
Mhm.
is great with the hat. Well, I don't think excuse me, I don't think in the second one he has the hat on when you have a reveal. He's in the nightclub.
Yeah.
So that's the only one where he doesn't have the fedora to start the movie, but all the other ones he does. Well,
Yeah.
not maybe not in the Dial of Destiny because I think I just watched it. I don't even remember if he's got it out of the first scene, but at least three of the movies he does. It was
There
just
are
like when you saw him in that fedora when he came
yeah.
back.
There are those moments when you think he's gonna lose the hat
Yes,
and he goes back, he, like, reaches his hand out and or when it gets blown away, and then in Last Crusade when you think he's dead,
yes,
right? And then the hat rolls back. I love that.
that is
I love
that's
it.
yeah, that's
It's another character. The hat, it becomes a character, you know? And it's like, kinda like, Freddy Krueger or others where kinda like the hat becomes part of the character. I had friends who just loved Indiana Jones, and they had this fedora, and it's that iconic kind of fedora where it's not just something like a business person from the 1930s or something. It's like, it's the Indiana Jones adventurer fedora, you know? It's just so iconic.
I think, and you'll say like when somebody has a fedora on the what do you think you are, Indiana Jones in that hat?
Right.
Like, okay, Doctor Jones, like you get like, and when I put on a fedora, I'm like, I want to look like India. I want this to be like an Indiana Jones type
Exactly.
of
It's not
look.
it's
Like
not like a Sam Spade,
you like, yeah,
Humphrey Bogart fedora. It's Indiana Jones with a little more of a wide brim and, it's, that brown color that just goes well with the, it's just iconic. They did a really, really good thing. And I love how he's not scared of like, scorpions or tarantulas, but it's the
the
snakes.
snakes. Which in the first one, in the first scene of Last Crusade, when
Hmm.
he's with his scout troop and he's like, it's just a snake. You notice he
Yes.
like
And intentionally, he's not scared at first. It was that then
it was that
scene
circus.
where he just
Yeah.
fell into the vat and they were everywhere.
Yep.
And
And
that
then that one that
traumatized
came
him.
out of the water, they were like, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great.
There's always some kind of awful thing they have to encounter in each movie
Yeah.
where you're like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah. So there was so many inspirations for him, right? He was inspired by African Queen,
Mm.
The Perils of Pauline, right? There were those serial stories. King Solomon's Mines, like Alan Quatermain, that was one that I guess was a strong influence. And they've tried to remake those. Those never really hit into pop culture like Indiana Jones. So here's a character who existed before Indiana Jones that was doing the same stuff, searching for like King Solomon's mines and hidden treasure. And yet it was Indiana Jones, which was inspired by characters like that hit the pop cultures. I mean, what was it then? It's like it's just the right time, I guess, and because he could have been just like another action adventure movie. Like there's
Yeah.
so many in the '80s, but there was something. I think it's that combination.
I think
The
it's kind of,
director.
yeah. And I think the score, the music,
Oh
it
yeah.
just can you imagine that without the music? Like the
Mhm.
music is a character and it moves the story
Oh
along
yeah.
and it has you in and I think the music is so important, the score of that. He's got his own theme song. When he's gonna start kicking some butt when
Yeah.
that's, I think that's part of it too. I think it's also coming off the heels of Star Wars and that he was such an iconic character. I think that helped also because I was like, Han Solo is Indiana Jones. I want to see that
I
movie.
was the same way.
I want to get in there and I want to see it. And the trailer was amazing. I couldn't wait to get to the theater to see that movie.
Yeah.
And it did not disappoint. I wanted more. I wanted to go again. I couldn't wait to see it again.
Mm.
When it finally came out on VHS, when you used to have to wait forever for videos to come out on VHS, that's one of those movies. If it's on, I'm gonna just be stuck.
Yeah.
Remote drop. I'm gonna watch if I happen to go past it. You don't really see it often, but if it is, I'm gonna watch. That's what it is for me. I guess it hit at the right time. Perfect
Yeah.
time.
And you see these, what he's searching for, these treasures. You got the Ark of the Covenant, and you have the Holy Grail, and so and then you in the comic book adaptions and things, he's going after like the Spear of Destiny and all these other things, and it's really he's looking for Atlantis. I think there's so many ways you can go with this character, and there's
Yeah.
so many things you can do, and
So you
maybe
want
that's why
more. You want
I
more.
want more. I want to
You
see
want
more.
more. You want
And
more Jones.
there's a video game that just came out recently, right? I'm gonna mess up the name. Oh, what did I wrote it down. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle came out last year, 2024, and it's supposed to be. People are raving about it. That it's like another movie. Like that's how they love it. Fits so well with that original trilogy.
Is
So
Harrison Ford like is he
I
model
that's
for
a
the character?
that's a good. I mean, he looks like Harrison Ford. and I don't know if he did the voice or not. I'll have to investigate that too. But it's from the screenshots I've seen, I'm like, wow, this could be like another movie. That's people who love the original source, and all these other characters like Lara Croft and the Uncharted video games. They were all inspired, and other movies like The Mummy.
Yeah.
So those characters, the lead characters, they're total Indiana Jones ripoffs. So he has kind of like set the mold for what these kinds of stereotypical kind of characters need to be.
Do you remember Tales of the Gold Monkey, that television show? Wasn't that like an attempt? It's like the character kind of looked like he was supposed to be like
Yeah,
that. I remember
I
it
think.
didn't really last, but I remember thinking, is this supposed to be like a Indiana Jones type character? Do you remember that?
Yeah, the name is familiar. I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, I don't think I watched it, but it came out around the same
Right.
time.
But then there were like things like the librarian and other. It was like you have characters like that who are kind of like either historians, architects, librarians, museum curators, who are also these adventurers who like are dealing with paranormal, supernatural stuff, searching for things.
National
And it
Treasure says some elements
Yeah,
of it
National
too.
Treasure for sure is
Yeah.
one of those, trying to solve mysteries, and those kind of that becomes like this kind of trope too, where it's like it's a mystery. It's like for Indiana Jones to kind of find the Holy Grail, he has to go through find the map and figure out the clue, and that becomes part of the fun as well. And you
It
can see why
is.
it would fit so perfectly with video games and these kind of puzzles. And that's what archaeologists and historians do, right? They find manuscripts, they
Gotta keep
translate
digging.
them. Yeah.
Digging literally and figuratively, right? You mentioned video games. That when I was a kid, like I can remember being like in 6th grade, there was a Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom arcade game,
Okay.
and it was in the lobby of the motel I was staying at Wildwood, New Jersey. And I'd have to wait for this young girl who's a little younger than me to play it, and she was good at it, and she conquered. I watched, and I'd sit there over her shoulder
Wow.
watching, and like when she was done, I'd pump my quarters, and I'm like, I can't not conquer this game. This girl just conquered. And I conquered that game. I probably pumped in $10 worth of quarters, which was a lot of money back then. $10.
Yeah.
Video games only cost a quarter, but
Uh-huh.
that game was fun, and it
That's
was great. I enjoyed it
Was it a
so much.
scrolling game, like,
Yeah,
across the
mine
field? Okay.
car ride. You had to beat up the
Nice.
thuggy guards. There was the whole scene where they like put
Yeah.
you got to not get knocked into the fire pit.
Right.
It was fun. I did conquer it. I got to write my name. That's like one of the first arcade games I really finished with
Uh-huh.
quarters. I wasn't like a video game kid, but it
Nice.
was my mission to do that. Wasting time in the lobby at night trying to conquer that game. A lot of
That's
fun.
awesome. That makes me think of, like, Pitfall was one of the games from
Yes,
Atari that came out. Now, did that come out before or after, Indiana Jones?
I
Because
think after, because
yeah,
Jack
because that
Black is in
seems
the commercial
Mhm.
and he looks like he's got the hat on.
That's right, that's
Yeah,
right. But that was I mean, there it is. That's an adventure jumping over snakes and swinging across vines and
alligators. Yeah,
yeah,
getting the
that's
gold bars and the silver bars.
exactly,
I don't even know
exactly.
if there was an end to that game. I never got to the end.
So, you had the first one, then Temple of Doom was a little darker, but what's your memory then of then going to the sequel, and did you see that in the
Yeah,
theaters too?
no, I did.
All
I was
Okay.
pumped up. I loved it. I loved it.
Were
I
you
feel
grossed out? Were you scared? Did you feel it
Yeah,
was
I
much
mean,
different?
I wasn't scared, but I was, when we were younger, Nick, I feel like we were like, I went to the first one when I was 7, and
Mhm.
I was watching things that maybe I wouldn't expose my own children to
Yeah, yeah.
at the same age. So I was like, oh, somebody's getting their heart ripped out. I guess that's how things are going. In this one, but yet he was still alive. So it wasn't like he
It
died.
was yeah,
He
it
was
was
like still
mystical.
alive, which was weird. It's like his
Yeah.
heart's gone, and he's not bleeding
Yeah,
profusely.
yeah, and then the
So it wasn't.
characters say or whoever it was like, "He's still alive."
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
his stomach just, like, healed itself, and it was like, "Okay,
"Okay, I guess that's."
I guess he's gonna get burned alive." Which is worse, but I don't know which
There's
is
more
worse.
there's more to that movie than it's deeper.
Yeah,
It had deeper moments. Yeah,
yeah.
but
I
Short
wasn't
Round was
afraid.
great. Yeah, I loved Short Round in that. I thought that was
He was
really
fun.
a good addition.
Yep.
He was hilarious. Every scene he's in, he steals the show. Every line, he delivered it so perfectly. And I was like, the actor should have gone on to even bigger and greater things. And I'm glad he's having a renaissance now, with all these
So
other things.
grateful, so gracious, the actor,
Yeah,
for his second chance,
he,
and his
he
agent
gets it.
is Chunk from The Goonies, right?
Yes. Yes, that's
Amazing.
I heard that. Like he's the one that's like
Which
his
is also kinda
manager.
like a little Indiana Jones type adventure
Yeah, The
for
Goonies for
kids.
sure is totally inspired by that kind of genre type story where you're searching for a treasure, you're going on adventures. Yeah, it's like mini Indiana Jones is running around, you know?
They were
It's
making movies right in my wheelhouse. I was, like, in the right I was like, "They just keep making great films."
and yet they didn't make like a Goonies sequel. And, I think now they're looking to do like a reboot or
I don't know
something,
how
but
I feel about these reboots 40 years, 30
yeah.
years after the fact.
Tron is coming as we're recording this. There's a new Tron movie out, and yeah, it's like interesting. But Indiana Jones, man, it's like I think there's a market for that. We were talking about there was in the young Indiana Jones series, there's also scenes with an older Indiana Jones, and it was played by George Hall. Like older, I mean like in his 90s, and
Oh,
he was
boy.
living at it was like present time. This is what I got to watch them, but it was set in 1992, the present time. So it was New
Okay.
York, and there's Indiana Jones is still alive, and he's like in his 90s, and he's reminiscing about all these stories. And that's where I think Harrison Ford in one episode comes and plays when he's like in his 50s looking back. So it does a lot of time hopping.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You can do like more adventures of him in a younger period, an older period. But I really think he has to be in his prime to get the full adventure out of it, you know?
And do you think it
Um,
should be a consistent actor playing this or
I think
like James
make,
Bond where you get a
yeah,
guy
get
for a couple of
That's how I think it should
films?
go, and I think that's what they're doing with Batman, that's what they do with Superman. It's
Mhm.
like every generation should have its own Indiana Jones, you know?
Interesting.
I don't know.
Hey, it probably will happen, but
Yeah,
I don't think the big players are gonna really be able to be involved.
that's true.
Well, they're already
And
crossing that off, the last one was
I think the fact that the last 2 didn't have as much of a cultural impact as the original trilogy, I think that kinda tells them that, hey,
maybe it's
maybe
time to go
they're
in another direction.
maybe, maybe, but I don't know. I think, we'll see. I think the character there's enough money to be made there that they'll eventually come back to him, and
Oh,
that's why I
yeah.
think with a lot of these genres, it's like as long as there's money to be kind of, squeezed out, they'll figure out a way. And then eventually it'll become public domain and everybody will be making an Indiana Jones
Right.
adventure or movie. Um, but it's funny that you can do like similar characters because again, he was based on these kind of archetypes. So it's not like George Lucas invented this
No.
adventurer, with the fedora hat. Even the costume, like I said, came from this kind of Charlton Heston movie. So it's like you could have somebody dressed like that. And you do that a lot where it's like you see somebody and you're like, oh, that's an Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
parody or a spoof, right? But yeah, so that's interesting. I'd like to see I wanna see more. And he was inspired by James Bond, and that's where Sean
Yep.
Connery kinda gets cast as his dad, and that's an homage to the James Bond stuff too, you know? I mean, I thought Sean Connery was so good as his dad, you know?
It is a great it's a great partnership. It really worked well. He fit in seamlessly, come into a trilogy like he'd always been a presence in his son's life, like in a sense that you get the
Mhm.
influence of why he's the way he is and why he became what he became. It just
Exactly.
kind of fit in so nicely. And there is like some of those tender moments are
Oh, yeah.
really touching, and then they take you right out. They drop like, "I thought I'd lost you, boy, and we gotta go," and drops him down.
I know, I know. That's a good movie, and the special effects in that one look a little more dated to me now, but the story, I still think seeing it in a movie theater, there's that scene where the knight
Yeah,
kinda waves his hand.
yes.
Everybody in front of you waves back to the knight, like, it was such a great moment. Those are the kinda things I love about going to a live theater
Yes.
with a real audience of strangers just watching and experiencing it.
Yeah.
You don't get that watching it at home.
No,
Um
no, like I said, I can remember the laughs, I remember where they were in each
Mhm,
movie, more so for the first 2 than
mhm,
Last Crusade. I was a little older, I was in, I think, high school when The Last Crusade came
mhm.
out. So I was a little yeah, a little bit more mature in my age, but I enjoyed it, was happy to
Yeah,
be that he was back
I
on
loved
screen.
it. I thought it was a great movie, and
Yeah,
Spielberg was still in his prime, I
still in
felt,
his prime.
you know, everything he touched was gold.
Yeah,
Anything you wanna say about Dial of Destiny or Crystal Skull?
uh,
Did you go in anticipating that it'll be great and were just disappointed? Or
uh
did you kinda know and it was maybe, at least enjoyable? That's how I felt with the last one, Dial of Destiny. I was like, I wasn't expecting much, and it wasn't as bad as some of the people were saying. I didn't see Crystal Skull, so I don't know.
And you seem to be wanting to just not
I
go
just
there.
I don't know, like, I guess I should watch it, because I gotta make it complete. It just seemed different because it was more playing from what I'm hearing on, like, the 1950s, right, the that kinda
Yeah.
stuff. It's so
And the
I don't know.
nuclear age and the
Yeah.
testing and stuff like that. I went into the to that one being, like, happy he was. It's like, I was like, "He's back. How can I not go see it in the theater?" Like, it's such a part of my childhood. I gotta do it. And I went in and like I said, I heard that Raiders march and it kinda got me, like, giddy a little bit. And then as it progressed, I was just like,
Yeah.
"Okay, fine." And I never saw it again. I don't remember it being on any cable. I don't remember wanting to get it on DVD. It's like disappeared. And then
Mhm.
when they said they were bringing him back, I was kinda hopeful that it was gonna kind of put a bow on it, make up for whatever ridiculousness was a part of Crystal Skull. And it's some parts it did, and some parts it was also kinda, like, a little ridiculous,
Yeah.
especially when a guy's 80 years old and some of the things that they're enduring. I
That's
know you gotta leave you gotta, like, okay, this is an action film, but some of it I was like, "He's 80 years old,
yeah.
and he's still getting his ass kicked," which he's always got his ass kicked.
Right. And that was what's so enduring because
That's enduring,
he's
but when
vulnerable and
yes.
he's not like this superhero, I can do no wrong and I will survive. It's like you believe when he's falling off a cliff, he might not survive or he
Yeah,
might even though now you know that he's going to live to be 90 something years old from young Indiana Jones, but it's still like you fear. You're like, what how is he going to get out of that?
yeah.
It's the cliffhanger mentality that makes that genre so wonderful. You came coming back. You knew the hero was going to make it, but how? How is he going to get out of
He
this one?
and
How's he going to survive?
some of it's luck, some of it's like luck. It's, it's not always his intellect because he always somebody always gets the best of him. Like, it always happens, right?
Yes.
"Oh, you found this? Thanks, I'm taking it from" It's like, "Oh, man, did all that work," and somebody just comes along and takes it from you, and then he's like, "Ugh," and, he's always gonna come back and get it, but he does get outwitted, there's some luck along the way. He's a lucky guy. He's
Yeah.
got good luck, he's got bad luck, but in the end, he wins.
Yeah, and in Temple of Doom, when he gets, like, kinda brainwashed and just hits short round, and you're like, "What's going on, Indy?" Short round's reaction is like all of us, and, like,
Yeah. Oh,
you're
yeah, like
still
he
my
hit us.
friend,
Yeah.
it's like and that's what gets him out. It's almost like it was so corny and cheesy, like, to kinda, like, he finds himself again, but that was great. That was a great moment, and it just shows the humanity and the relationships, um 'Cause, like, movie to movie, he kinda meets new people, new characters. You've got, these characters that do I guess we could talk about what some of the supporting act characters are that are so good, but it's his relationships to, like, Marcus Brody and, Sala. I love that character,
Yeah.
It's so it was kinda a little sad to see, John Rhys Davies, right? Is that the actor's name, right? I'm blowing it. I
The one who
should
plays Sala?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's so good, and he's got that deep voice, and
The
it's just
indie.
like, I love it,
Yeah, he
But
made a
we all
cameo in that
age.
last one, it was good.
Yeah, we all age and get older, and sometimes nostalgia, we wanna see them back, but at the same time, fictional characters, we kinda just want them to stay frozen and just do more adventures and more
Well,
adventures.
that's what Sala said. He said, "Indy, let me come with you. Like, I need a reason to get up in the morning, like, to know what adventure we're going." And he's like, we're past that point. We're
Funny.
not no more adventures, buddy." Like, and that's part of
Yeah.
the whole through line is the fact that Indy is aging, and
Mhm.
this is probably the end. Like, this is the one last and
Yeah.
hurrah, and the age is setting in, and he in the end he wants to stay in the past, which was interesting. I want to stay here. She obviously, well, spoiler alert, doesn't let him, and he's back with his ex-wife. But his first choice was to remain in the past, which was
Yeah.
interesting. As an 80-year
Yeah.
old guy, like, I want to stay here, which I
Yeah.
thought was a little
It is interesting, and especially how it ties into history too, like, he's an archaeologist. He's living in the past, he's looking at
yeah,
the past, all
always.
that stuff, So that's really ironic, I guess, but it's that's what makes this character so great. What about villains? Like, do you have a favorite out of all the villains he's encountered? Any that stand out as the best?
I guess, I mean, well, there's Arnold Tote.
There you go.
He's just a he's just a henchman,
Oh, man.
pretty
There's a
scary
couple of
guy.
times when you think he's gonna die, and he comes back, and he's what is the
Yeah.
little thing he's got on
Yeah, this
hand?
figure actually, Yeah, it actually has that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
Those of
yeah,
you who are just listening, it's like it's got the imprint right on the
yeah.
hand of the action figure. That's pretty
Like, we
cool.
can't not there's looks like
That's
Harrison
awesome.
Ford, right? Looks like him.
A little bit.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
the whip and the gun are long gone.
Long gone.
I still have
I
the
can
figure.
imagine.
Favorite villain? Well, the villains are, uh, they're yeah, they're like intellects, they're rival archaeologists, and they always have a henchman that kicks the crap out of
Yeah.
Indy. I would
There was like
say the
the
one
ones
I
that you don't know that are villains that suddenly become
right,
villains, like the Walter Donovans and the
yeah.
you know, yeah.
I guess the Walter Donovan guy, I like him.
Yeah.
I like
And
him.
Elsa from that movie too, like you think
Yeah, she was
she's another femme fatale, right?
yeah,
You think she's gonna be the sidekick again, and she ends up being the villain.
yeah. No,
And
I
you
thought that
realize
was
she had an affair with the dad
with the
too, you
dad,
know?
it's like, "Let him shoot her." I can't. Trust me. Yeah, that I think that that combination of villains I
Yeah,
enjoy.
yeah.
That's probably my favorite.
Right. Then you had the unnamed Panama Hat in the prequel in the little storyline with River Phoenix, right? The guy that was the villain in that. Yeah, so many good ones. Lao
Which
Che in the
yeah,
second movie. I thought that was great. I'd
that
love to
was
see more
really
of them.
good.
That's a villain I'd like to see come back and do like more, with that because I thought that was really good.
Yeah, they kinda just left that, like,
Mhm.
unresolved, but one thing that I notice is in, like, I guess is a trope or just is the item on the floor that you can't get to and grab. Just
Yeah,
about in every one, there's like, "It's right there, now it's gone," and then
that whole
every s
sequence. Yeah.
every there's always something that they is just out of reach, gets kicked across the floor, they don't know it's there,
Mhm.
it goes into the crevice. There's always something.
And that's symbolic, I guess. He's constantly, it's kind of like everything is a holy grail to him. Everything
Yes.
is like, his dad was searching for the actual holy grail. But for him, everything, all the stuff that he's searching for is kind of like, will he ever be satisfied? Which is why Last Crusade ended on such a nice note. We kind of touched upon that in the other podcast, 3324 Music and Movies with,
Yes.
Dean and Eric. We talked about Last Crusade. And it just ends with them riding off into the
Riding into
sunset.
the sunset.
Perfect ending.
Coulda left
You
it
know?
well enough alone right there,
Yeah, yeah.
and maybe they should've.
Mm, I don't know. I still love Indiana Jones. I
With the
want
same
more.
character, but
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
Harrison Ford
correct. But then, even when
Indiana
Sean
Jones.
Connery came back as James Bond, it was like never say never again, right?
Right.
Did he have to come back? It wasn't one of the best movies in the Indiana Jones in this James Bond series, but seeing him in that role again was great.
You get
So
nostalgic.
seeing Harrison Ford
You're gonna
put
go.
on the vest as Han Solo, and even though you're like, "Okay, he's gotta have other clothes. Why does he have to wear the
Still
same
wearing
vest?"
the same it's the future, you wear the same clothes every day in the future, but yet yeah.
That's great. So of all the, his, like, romantic ones, right? So you had Marion Ravenwood from the
Marion.
first movie. She's become the one, right, that, yeah, I liked Willie Scott too. I think Willie Scott was, like,
Yes.
she had there was something there, it was like, I really loved that relationship and that character. I almost think they could have given her a spin-off or something.
Yeah,
It was interesting.
it was fun.
Yeah.
She was a fun character.
Yeah. So what else can we say about Indiana Jones? Any other like all the inspirations, the ones that like came after, like you had Romancing the Stone
Yeah.
and
I
The
think I
Mummy,
saw yeah,
Rocketeer. Do you remember seeing the movie Rocketeer?
I
The
remember
Rocketeer?
wanting to see it, not seeing it.
Okay. That was
It
another
was
one
like a
that
lot
was
of hype, I remember when it first came
yeah.
out.
It didn't make as much money as,
No.
like, people expected, but I love that movie, and it was very Indiana Jones esque in the sense that it was set during, like, World War II, they were fighting Nazis, and it was kind of that serial adventure. It wasn't necessarily they're out hunting for treasure, so it wasn't very much Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
but it was very much inspired by those serials that inspired Indiana Jones. So Rocketeer was a character from back then too. And as I was watching that, it really felt to me like those original Indiana Jones movies. So that's one worth watching if people
Okay.
really want to get something that has that same kind of vibe. It's really a great
Is that a
movie.
Disney movie, The Rocketeer?
It might have been. I think it was. I haven't seen it since it
It
came
was like
out, but I
91, right? It was like
yeah,
early
and I
90s.
just remember it very fondly, and it didn't spawn any sequels or anything
No.
like that, but it maybe should have. It was I thought it was so good. I guess it just underperformed or in the box office, but I think that owes a lot to Indiana Jones. I don't think you would have had The Rocketeer if you didn't have the Indiana Jones movies. Dora the Explorer, do your kids watch or did they used to watch that?
They did
She's
not.
very much Indiana Jones for the kid generation, right? She goes out looking for treasure, hunting stuff. So my daughter loved that show, and then my son, watches that when he was younger as well. Those are all the tropes from the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
Anything else you talked about, like the places at the amusement parks? They have rides.
The Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland was great.
What do you think of that?
Well, first, I had an experience where I was the next person to get on the ride, and the ride shut down for a good half hour, 45 minutes. I'm
Oh
like
no.
literally about to get on the ride. I'm like, please don't close it for the day. They didn't. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the ride. It's very cool. The experience. I only got to see one stunt, but anything Indiana Jones, I'm in. Like the arcade game. If I saw that, I would get giddy and want to get on that. I probably wouldn't conquer it. It's been a long time since I did that. I love it, and I still have my figures. I still, I still. I don't know. It still brings. There's a lot of nostalgia for it because not only did my dad took me and like I know my great uncle liked the movie, so like they bought into it too, which was it was kind of cool that it wasn't like I didn't feel like it was a movie that was just for me. Like the adults around me seemed to like it and enjoy it and laugh
Hmm.
and be interested in the next one. I remember my dad had all three of them on VHS.
Nice.
It's like they were in his collection, so I know he liked it because it probably brought nostalgia for
Hmm.
him. I remember being a kid and them doing like like a story about Indiana Jones and how he goes underneath the car. Like I thought that was like when he went under the car when he was getting beaten up by the Nazi and he like goes under. That was done with like stagecoach horses. That was a
Hmm.
stunt that had been repeated from an earlier movie, but they did it with like horses, and the guy, went underneath it with all the horses. I think he might have broken a couple of legs to stuntman, but it wasn't even that wasn't even an original stunt that had been done before in in
Hmm.
in those types of movies that Spielberg. So they were talking about the influences in like Zorro, like riding up alongside, punching, opening the door, getting in, which is in just about every Jones movie.
Yeah.
Somebody gets punched to the face, open the door, get in, start driving.
Yeah.
I think that's why
I
the
guess.
older generation bought into that as well.
Yeah, I guess it's the stunts that really
Yeah.
also resonate because they were physical stunts. And nowadays you could do CGI effects and things like that, and maybe you lose some of that. That's why maybe like the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible stunts kind of resonate a little bit more because he's doing them for real.
Yeah.
But how much longer can you keep doing that? Like you're not going to have Tom Cruise when he's 90 jumping out of an airplane. I
You
hope.
never know. You never know. The guy's very devoted to his
I know.
craft.
All right. So now a producer comes up to you and says, Sean, I need you to cast this movie. We're redoing Indiana Jones. Are you going to just turn him down and say, don't do it? Or is there any actor that you think nowadays can fill those, can put the fedora on and believably look like Indiana Jones or
Wow. Wow, that is a question I wish I had in advance.
to think about?
That man.
It
Oh
just
my
came to me, man. It
just
just
got
came.
that's a great question. Like who do I think could pull that off?
Yeah.
It's like
And
what
I
are we
think
thinking
that's what
like
would keep it from rebooting it. Like you had like, obviously at the time, River Phoenix seemed like a natural and you're like, yeah, this is the guy that can carry the mantle, like we can do a
are
bunch
we
of young
going
Indiana
indie
Jones.
like with the age that Harrison Ford was when he started Indiana
Yeah, I think you
Jones?
have to be like in that age,
Like
like the prime light
late
of life. I can't
30s,
yeah,
mid to
yeah,
late 30s, kind of like you've been around the block a little bit.
yeah.
Wow,
So
who's in
or
that?
would you go or would you
Who's there that I know
yeah,
now that
yeah.
is like can you think of someone that is that?
I'm thinking like some of the who's the guy that just did the Twisters reboot, Glenn Powell, right? I think
I
there
saw
could be a but like yeah, there really isn't. You'd probably have to go with like a young
like
unknown,
an unknown.
like they try to do with Han Solo,
Yeah,
in the Han Solo movie. But you can't have somebody who's just going to mimic
no.
Harrison Ford. you know?
No.
Like you've done it with the Star Trek movies, you know, you cast
Yeah.
somebody to be Captain Kirk, and there'll still be people who like Shatner will always be the original Captain Kirk. But they're saying that about James Bond. I
Yeah.
keep going back to Bond because I think that's the kind of formula, you know, it's like go to all these adventures. You have the villains, you have, you know, the iconic stuff that sticks with them.
Yeah, I think the villains you could insert whomever seasoned actor,
Exactly.
but I think maybe it's someone who's we don't even know is out there yet.
Yeah.
Well, now let me ask you this. I saw some like reading like a couple of actors read for that. Like Mark Harmon
Mhm.
read for it, obviously Tom Selleck
Yeah, you keep hearing about Tom Selleck.
and
I
Sean
don't know.
Young. He read with Sean Young.
Yeah,
She was initially going to
that's
be married.
interesting.
Tom Selleck, I just don't think
What do
it
you
would have. I
think?
think
I
it
don't
would
know.
have been a one
Would
and
he have
done.
shaved his mustache to play the part at the time? Like, at the time, he was really known for his
Do you think?
Magnum
I
PI
guess
mustache, right?
oh,
But
he was all about the mustache. Mark
but
Harmon, and there was one other guy that I don't know. I didn't know who he was, but
yeah.
I saw Mark Harmon a little bit. Mark Harmon's a good looking
It's
guy.
always tough, you know, we do this with, like, Superman and all the people who were lined up to play him, and it's hard to because you know, you got Christopher Reeve, and you're like, he was so perfect. So I
He
think
was.
if Selleck had played him, you wonder it probably still would have been good. It just maybe would have gone in a different route because Harrison Ford just has that kind of dry humor and just really he's done roles like that where he's had humor and serious,
Yeah.
but he epitomized Harrison Ford. I mean, Harrison Ford epitomized Indiana Jones. Like
Yeah.
he brought him to life, and it's like a character that I think that will live on, you know, separately. So I think other people will play the character, but Harrison Ford kind of just like nailed it. It was
He kind
yeah.
of he set the standard. Tim Matheson was the other one
Okay.
that they were thinking about possibly.
Yeah.
Tim Matheson is he is he in Animal House? No.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't
Yeah. All the what might have been. You go to an alternate universe and it's like, yeah,
if
Tom
Tom
Selleck is
Selleck
yeah.
wasn't locked into Magnum PI, he was gonna be the guy.
He was gonna be the guy.
Oh, Spielberg said should have played him. He goes, it should have been Humphrey Bogart, but he would have been too old and he was dead. But he said
Yeah.
that's the role.
I wonder if Humphrey Bogart would have I can't picture Bogey doing the stunt work though, you know?
No,
And he was a short guy, like, he wasn't, like, you know but, hey, Bogey could have done anything, I think. He would have been
sure.
great. And African Queen, I think, was one of the inspirations as well, so
Yeah. Well,
that's
that
you
makes
know,
sense.
that was
That
later in his life, right? A funny thing when I was looking for inspirations, Columbo kept coming up, and I'm
you
like,
wrote that to me.
Columbo?" I'm like, "What's the inspiration?" So I was looking it up, and it was Spielberg mentions that a lot, like, "This is what inspired me," and it was a lot of the filmmaking techniques that Spielberg used when he was doing episodes of Columbo that he used, especially suspense and diverting attention for the audience. So things like that. So that's interesting. Whenever you watch an episode of Columbo, you're like, inspiration for Indiana
Okay.
Jones. So there you go.
Nick at Night or something. I'll have to
Exactly.
DVR it on TV Land or Antenna
Exactly.
TV if they're.
And it's making me appreciate history as well, because like all
Oh
these
yeah,
real life people, like Percy Fawcett, who disappeared while searching for the lost city that he called Z, the paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews, who found the first fossilized dinosaur eggs, you know, the guy who found the crystal skull in Belize, Frederick Albert Mitchell Hedges,
yeah,
right? And I think they reference him. They said
yes.
in the crystal skull. So another reason for me to watch that movie. Let me just get it over with and
You got to do it,
watch
man.
it.
You
Yeah,
got to do it. If you're a
that's
fan,
it.
you just have to do it.
That's it. All right, my friend. I think that's we've reached the end. I hope there's more adventures with him coming up. Anything else you want to say about Indy that we left out or
I'm sure I'll remember in about 15 minutes when we're wrapped. I'll be like, oh man, I should have said that. No, I this character, like, I remember getting on my bike and us going dun, 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 dun. Like
yeah,
it
the
just
John Williams score will live on.
that score, like we would just do it. Like
How do you rank that compared to John Williams's other scores? Like, you know, where do you put that? And he's done so
Star
many.
Wars and that for me when I hear those notes, it just
Yeah.
brings me. Does it do that for you? Like it brings me back to being I'm a
It's
kid when I
just
hear them.
so perfect.
Yeah,
It's like, you know, it's a way where John Williams knows how to use this music to kind of reflect different things. Superman is one of my favorites
yeah,
of his, and it goes from like the soaring operatic kind of to this love theme to the really soft, and you could take the same kind of melody and play it on these different levels, that's the sign, I think, of genius, and how it just like, where does all this come from? Like,
Yeah.
he's got, I mean, just what a talent, and he's still making music,
Yeah,
as
he's in
of
his
this
90s.
recording. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think that's what part of it for me. So
yeah,
yeah, it's something that is a big important part of my childhood. It's good to have the character still in adulthood and age not with him because we're not the same age, but just different perspectives for the character. It's even though the movies aren't as good as the first three, I'm still kind of glad they're around that in
for
DC,
sure.
you know.
Yeah, and I hope there's more. But it's all that stuff together: music, direction, the acting, and the casting. So, if any of you have not seen any of these movies, check it out. I promise I will watch Crystal
Did
Skull.
they do it in
I will force
sequence,
myself.
Nick? Should we do it in sequence, or should we go like Raiders, Last
I
Crusade?
think you gotta do chronological theatrical release.
Yeah, you do. You
I
do.
think Raiders is the best still, and even though everything is kind of a little bit downhill from there, you'll still love, Temple of Doom and Last Crusade. And I think by doing that, then you watch, Dial of Destiny, and there's still, there's enjoyable moments in there, and it's good to see him come back. And then I think I'm gonna have fun watching the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I
I
think,
think I might try. I might take a look and
yeah.
see what I'm up against. Like, where can I fit this in? It's really tough,
I know, I know.
but
There's just so
I
much
might be worth.
content out there. Anyway, I have my great friend Sean Grady here. Thank you so much. Catch him on Drama from the Past. I'll put a link in the show notes. But thank you all for tuning in. If we left anything out, leave a comment, share, like, follow, all the fun stuff. Sean, thank you for being a
Nick,
guest.
I love talking with you anytime about
Thank you, man.
anything, buddy. Anytime.
Yeah, there will be more to come. So thank you again. This has been another episode of Greatest Characters in Pop Culture History.